when I was in Israel, I met two Jews who were Indian, and they were from Mizoram. And they were previously Christian, Kukis. Because to study, they had to convert. So they were a displaced Jew, their ancestors. They converted to Christianity because they had to study. They had no option.
So you can't study unless you're a Christian in India?
In Mizoram, Manipur,
so in Mizoram,
India,
you can't study unless you're a Christian?
At one point of time. Now,
Okay.
I think RSS Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram has worked a lot there. They have built their own schools where you don't have to convert back or do anything to. So that much I know.
Isn't it interesting that at a certain point in time in India, you had to convert to Christianity in Mizoram to get an education?
Yes. And it was very weird because they don't want your parents to convert. They just want to put a Jesus photo in the same temple, that small temple you have at the home, next to your own God. And soon that takes place of the whole temple. That's my personal experience, which I have talked to people. And even the particular Jew couple I'm talking about. So we met 4 people in an Indian restaurant there. 2 were Maharashtrians. Their surname was also Marathi.
But they were Jewish.
But they were Jewish.
Israeli citizens.
Israel citizens.
Okay.
But now they have changed their surname back to Israel. Their surname is Israel now.
Okay.
I don't know if they will watch this video. And I am sorry if I am saying anything wrong in the story you have told me. So yes, my starting point of the conversation was them. But then this point which we have touched upon, that at one point of time we had to convert, anyone had to convert to Christianity, because right now Christianity is 99% of some states in Northeast. What has happened? Because Manipur, Mizoram, you talked about in one of your previous podcasts that it has a foreign occupation, but it is an Indian sovereignty or Indian sovereign state. This really piqued my interest. So please, I would like to hear from you. What is this all about?
Yeah. So the Manipur issue. Right now, Manipur is in turmoil. We know that. It all began in May last year, May 2023. Suddenly, this big eruption of violence, right? And that's the point. To the casual observer, it will look like, oh, what happened here? Why did suddenly this violence happen? And now why is it just ongoing? Why is it going on and on for months and months? How did this happen suddenly, out of nowhere? Nothing happens out of nowhere. There is always a context. There is always reasons for a conflict. And then a spark is lit, and then the conflict comes out in the open. But the conflict already existed. We have to understand that. So let's understand the issue that's in Manipur. So Manipur, most Indians have very little understanding about Manipur. No, most people have not heard of Manipur. If they have heard of it, it's just a name. Yeah. It's one of the states that whose names you are forced to memorize.
7 sisters of
Northeast.
All that.
Yeah. So Manipur is a very ancient land. Okay. We think of something, we all know about a language called Manipuri. And we all know about something called Manipuri dance. Most of us have seen some pictures or some little bit of video here or there. Manipuri dance, very interesting dance style, very interesting.
Tribal flavor.
It's not tribal, but whatever. It's got very interesting.
It's not tribal.
It's not tribal. So it's got interesting costumes and all that, right? So when we think about the Manipuri language, okay, so if we look at the geography of Manipur today, there are 3 major ethnic groups in Manipur. One is the Meiteis, one is the Nagas, and one is the Kukis. 3 ethnic groups in Manipur right now. About 6% of the land of Manipur is occupied by the Meiteis. 6%. The northern half of Manipur is more or less occupied by Nagas. It's non-Nagas who live there. And about half of Manipur, the southern part, is occupied by Kukis. Okay? That is the current situation. If you take a photograph of the ethnic divisions, that's what you see right now. 6% Meiteis, northern half Nagas, southern half Kukis. Now, if we think about the Manipuri language, it is well known this language has existed for at least 2000 years. At least 2000 years, the Manipuri language. The question is very simple. These 3 ethnic groups, out of these 3 ethnic groups, which is the ethnic group that is the originator of the Manipuri language?
Meiteis?
It is the Meiteis. Okay? There is something called Manipuri dance, which is the ethnic group that is the originator of Manipuri dance. Kukis, Meiteis, Nagas. It is the Meiteis. There is a recorded history of kings of Manipur that goes back 2000 years minimum. Which ethnic group did these kings belong to out of these three?
Meiteis?
All Meiteis. Then the question is, who are the true Manipuris? I'll tell you, the true
Only 6%.
Only 6% of the land. The true Manipuris are the Meiteis and the Nagas. The Nagas are also indigenous.
Okay.
And they are closely related to the Meiteis.
Nagaland and Nagas, they are same Nagas?
Same.
Okay. And what do they represent? Who do they represent? Meiteis means who?
It's an ethnic group. They don't represent anybody. They represent themselves.
Okay. So, any religion identity they have?
So the Meiteis are a polytheistic people. They historically had their own indigenous culture, religion, whatever you want to call it. In English, we put ism at the end of everything. Hinduism, Buddhism, Tengrism, all that. So their religion in English is called Sanamahism. Okay. Their main god is Sanamahi and so on and so forth. It's a polytheistic religion. There are elements of nature worship, ancestral worship, tree worship, forest worship, spirit worship, all that. Very similar to Hinduism. And about 1,000 years ago, or maybe before that, or maybe after that, wherever, Hinduism, what we call Hinduism, also appeared in Manipur. Yeah, we have inscriptions and all that. And today, most Manipuris practice a mix, a blend of Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Bengali region, and their ancestral Sanamahism. It's a syncretic kind of culture. In Japan, there is a synthesis of Shinto and Buddhism and Hinduism. Similarly, in Manipur, you have a synthesis, a syncretic culture, which is Vaishnav and Sanamahi and all that. So that is only when I'm talking about the Meitei people. Okay, so 2,000 years minimum their history has existed. They are the originators of the Manipuri language. All the kings of Manipur were Meitei kings. Okay, at one point in time, they had conquered parts of Yunnan in China. They had gone all the way to Mandalay in Burma. They had a very much larger kingdom, almost like an empire at certain points in time. And they have cultural continuity going back at least minimum 2,000 years, perhaps 3,500 years. And the Nagas are very closely related to the Meiteis, ethnically, linguistically, in all ways. So the Meiteis typically, they chose not to live in the hills and the forests. And the Nagas would live in the hills and forests, but they were more or less the same people. Over time, over the centuries, some distinctions happened. And today, because most of the Nagas are converted to Christianity, they are given a separate ethnicity. But they are the same people. Okay. Among the Nagas also, there are lots of different tribes. Mao, Angami, Tangkhul, so on and so forth. Lots of different tribes, lots of different languages. There is no one Naga language. Some of these tribes can't even understand each other's language.